and they pitched like a variety of games, 3 or 4 different games. Far Cry was just another game in the lineup. It was very rough at the time, so it was programmers, graphics, and stuff like that. So the discussion we had together was just to try to eliminate the games that were not compatible with our portfolio, and try to pick the ones that would be that would bring something different to the genre. And so we kept discussing during the course of the summer, then various different demos. And in August, it became very clear that Far Cry had an edge in terms of technology. The design was kind of generic at that point, but you could really see that in terms of technology that they really had something there. And what we are looking for at Ubisoft is really games that will complement our portfolio, but that will bring something more compared to the competition. So in that time it was technology for Far Cry. Now it's harder to bring something more into the technology because you see the British engine and what it can offer you as a developer. So it's something very solid already, and some of the solutions can bring very strong tech to you for your development needs. But now you really have to make a difference in terms of design. What will make your game stand out, and that's what we're looking for at Ubisoft. So going back to what Bob said, what Yancy said, we need to identify who holds the vision of the game, because that's the individual we want to discuss with, and probe his mind to make sure that he will hold the team together, he will hold the concept together. So, yeah.
Okay. And just one of the things I can add as well is, every publisher has a gauntlet to run through to get ideas through the system, and every year it's becoming harder and harder. That gauntlet is becoming more and more difficult, and there's a good reason for that, which is there's more money being invested into games and the returns are harder to make. So it's, my advice to anybody who's trying to get their ideas out is, start with as clear a vision as you can make it. Don't just submit, a 2-page design document. You need, a demo or a visual representation. It's trying to get across that vision you do have to the publisher and why it's going to make a difference for them. And that could be on a handheld like a DS, it could be on a Wii or the next gen. We get a number of submissions that you kind of roll your eyes at and go, it's not going to cut it. You really, you're competing with these, the publishers up here with, some of the best development teams in the world. So it's a challenge. But what's really cool to see, and I'm actually happy to see, is that independent spirit on things like Xbox Live, games like Braid. I mean, when I see that, I go, man, I want to talk to these guys because they've basically done a demo for a, it makes it easier when you're trying to pitch something and say, well, in a way, it's a great game. That Lost Winds, some of these others that were relatively small budgets, done with a lot of heart. That kind of thing will sell it. I could probably tell the story better, but I know the Guitar Hero guys, they were pitching that game to publishers back in, I think, 1999, and they were bringing in their guitars, they were doing all this thing, and somebody obviously at Activision took it on and met up with Harmonix. But to me, it was an interesting story because the number of times they said no to them.
Well, actually, it was Red Octane out of Korea that took a chance with their own money to build the peripheral and to sign up Harmonix. And once Harmonix was able to get the game probably past prototype, that's when publishers actually started to get excited about it. And at that point, Harmonix did not want to change, well, I can't get too much into it, but they didn't want to change to their current publisher, and Activision ended up getting into an agreement with Red Octane. But it was difficult. When I first saw the Guitar Hero game, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great. You try to push it through, but the peripheral risk was probably the main thing holding it back, because at that time there weren't many games with peripherals out there, and it just was a huge risk to whether the game is not only going to work and be fun, but do you take on that additional cost of making those peripherals and them sitting in a store, sitting in a warehouse somewhere. And luckily for everybody, a couple of publishers were able to take that risk, and now we have tons of these games. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
So you're kind of suggesting that, I mean, should developers just keep trying again if they have an original IP that they actually believe in, or is it?
They should, if they believe in it, absolutely. There are a lot of factors that take place. Right now, it's going to be tough for anybody to do original IP. In the console cycle, at the beginning of the 360 and the PS3 is when we're willing to take the most bets on original IP. There's not a lot out there. Walmart and the rest of the retail world, Walmart really determines what we sell in a lot of ways. And they're more open to original IP at the beginning of the cycle. Once we start getting into the middle and the end, you're fighting with Gears of War 3, and, you know, the next Call of Duty and Halos and all of those big ticket items. Walmart wants to see licensed properties and they want to see sequels, so there's just limited shelf space for the original IP. And at that point, the investment to get that original IP to sell 3 to 5 million units is really tough. So the bar is set pretty high, and we're very exclusive about which ones we select.
You know, actually, just touch on that with the retailers as well. I'm curious, especially in the States, how much of an influence do the retailers have on the decisions that the publishers actually make?
They have a lot of influence on what we decide to make. You know, think of it as your own money. Would you invest $20 million into something that Walmart's not going to take? No, nobody would. So it's very important as a publisher to have that relationship with retail to understand what exactly it is they're looking for and what they want to take. And, you know, some of the bigger publishers have a little bit of leverage. You know, World of Warcraft and the Target and Call of Duty, we can push probably some more things through than some of the smaller publishers, but it's certainly a big influence on our portfolio strategy and what we decide to move forward with.
With those retailers, I mean, do they reach the decisions of what they particularly want to stock? Do they just read the other gaming sites like everyone else and go, wow, that looks cool? Or?
They're getting smarter, but they change buyers quite often. It really comes down to how much money you're going to put into marketing at the end of the day. So if it's an original IP, Walmart wants to know that it's on TV, and that you're going to spend X amount of money towards, you know, the launch of the game, so that they're not going to take up valuable shelf space for something else that might be proven, or might be a sequel, or might be a big movie license.
So another hurdle, I guess, for original IPs in that respect.
It's tough. You need to. There are a lot of original publishers out there, and you know, we've done it in the past where you put out an original IP and you don't properly market it, or you don't get behind it the way that you need to. So for us now, if we're going to do original IP, we're going to get behind it completely 100%. So we're going to get the TV, we're going to get the marketing, and that's what really Walmart wants to see when you're doing something that they don't know about.
Okay. Yeah, you're hearing about, I think, the ugly side of the business, and that's that is, you know, in many ways it is sad that Walmart is such an influence. You know, a buyer in Arkansas can decide what you guys are going to play. I'm actually, though, I mean, at one level, I think, you know, that's the reality of it. The other side of things are I do believe there's a renaissance of happening. I think Valve is starting that. I think there are avenues, because I know a lot of you guys have, you know, are just getting into the business or have small studios and trying to do things. So there are avenues that are opening in different ways, through Xbox Live, through PSN, through, you know, just downloadable games, Flash games, Facebook. You go through that, and learning how to make a good game. Again, it can be the smallest little Flash game, and if it's fun, people will play it. I mean, was it Scrapulous or one of the games that EA was, you know, Facebook. I mean, they're fun little games, but you know, those guys are making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, and so there are other avenues. And I think as publishers, we're getting more and more tuned into some of that, and that there are going to be other avenues for it. I mean, World of Warcraft is a perfect example of a game that, believe me, nobody knew it was going to take off the way it did. It was, you know, it was a lot of passion, and they basically started a new business model. There's new business models happening in China and Korea where there's free-to-play games where it's all based off microtransactions. They give away the game and you are buying items. So there's a lot of different avenues for game developers around the world. I don't want people to think, oh, you know, the only way you're going to be in this business is to have your game on the shelf at Walmart.
I think it's really important for developers to be very aware of these trends and weaknesses.